Infinite Frontier issue 2, Joshua Williamson writing. And when I looked up online, like the cover was missing a lot of names, so I didn't read on the artists. But we got Paul Pelletier, we got Jesus Marino, we got Zermanico.
Those are all the pencilers.
Yes. So whole bunch of names. And we have obviously all these plot threads to continue. We got Chase coming to the Hall of Justice. We got more stuff with Roy, and kind of further complicating whatever this ring is that is kind of a Black Lantern ring, but has some other qualities. And then obviously, we might even call it a Dark Side ring by the time this issue ends. So Chase is snooping around Hall of Justice. Superman and Batman are dealing with her. And she's kind of asking questions about the multiverse, and they're like, look, we're handling it. You know, we talked about everything that needs to be talked about. And she's making it clear that, look, people, this is not enough anymore. People are aware that universes have reset and things have changed. We have to actually be more upfront about this. I did kind of like how Batman just went, "You're working for Bones, aren't you? He sent you here."
Yeah, I got really distracted by some terrible lettering in this sequence.
Oh,
I think it's the third page. It's after the double layout. You have Batman kind of in the top half of the page, and his foot sticks into a bubble underneath, and all the text is offset around his foot, and it just looks ugly and it's horrible. I don't know why they didn't either move the bubble lower down or
just have his feet
behind the bubble. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it would actually affect the page that much if it wasn't like a pop out panel. If the Batman was just his feet went behind the other panels, it was fine.
I think it would be fine personally.
Yeah. It didn't bother me. It's kind of an old school comic book thing. I feel like you see that in older comics a lot.
It's something just for me. I think it's like poor. I don't want to blame the letterer because I'm assuming they were told no, Batman has to be on the top layer. But if it was me, I'd be moving those bubbles around entirely to start them lower. Have two below her face rather than two above. Yeah, just to avoid that because I think it looks hideously ugly.
Yeah. So we see all the evidence of around the multiverse of various members of Justice Incarnate going after parts of this ship. Obviously, the Flashpoint Batman, he landed from like an escape pod on it, and we get kind of some teasing and seeding of what's going on here. Calvin, President Superman, is talking to him, try to get to the bottom to it. He kind of brings him with him to check things out, but he tells a story of being taken from Arkham.
Yeah.
And ultimately escaping when this ship was ready to crash. And he says he woke up.
Interesting. Again, alongside this, we're talking with Harbinger.
Yeah.
Which again is another thing that ties this story back to,
Crisis.
The Crisis. Obviously, we're already playing with Psycho Pirate, but it's just another thing that's like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, there was actually a moment here where I thought Flashpoint Batman actually intentionally set up President Superman. There's like a moment where they're looking at the ship where it's been kind of reassembled and there's a blast, and the way it kind of played, I thought, I think it's because of the little tease panel where it's clearly later on Darkseid's the voice talking to people, but it says you're the last son of a dead reality, and then it's Calvin turns and says, Thomas, what are you? It's as if he's like noticing that there's something wrong. The rest of the scene doesn't play that way though, so I don't necessarily think he did. But
no, I think he notices that he's kind of spaced out.
Yeah,
hearing that. And I really don't. The reason it never crossed my mind is because the reaction that he has, on that big panel where it has the boom across it, and he's being hit by the.
Yeah, it immediately didn't, but it was just in that little sequence of a couple of panels. It felt like that, but then
yeah,
Miguel shows up.
So he's a villain again.
He's a villain again. He's yes. This is one of the things that's been reset. So that's a bit of a cliffhanger there. We then cut to what's currently left of the JSA plus Vandal Savage, talking about where Jade is, what's going on. She's missing. A bit of a debate breaks out, and the fight even with Vandal. They're talking about how a lot of these other JSA members have came back, but not everyone necessarily remembers who they are, and they actually had to really hunt down where some of them were because they were hard to find. But they're not sure about Jade right now. They're not sure where Jade is. And Obsidian's
obviously, she was in this building that blew up.
Yes.
Last issue.
And
like, where is she on? Who's taking her?
And Obsidian's like, no, we gotta go do something. Let's go find. Let's go track down enemies of the JSA. Let's go.
I believe his argument is, then we go kick ass.
That is true, because it comes back, because the next time at the end is next time Alan Scott and Obsidian go and kick ass. I believe is what it says at the end. So it's a thing here where you almost think that maybe Alan might actually kind of side with Vandal a little bit. That they've got bigger things to focus on. But Vandal basically talks down to Obsidian, and Alan whacks him with a giant green hammer, out of his ring energy. It says, "Don't ever speak to my children like that again." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go kick ass with my son." And there's a really nice transition here where they walk into the infinite black of Obsidian's portal effectively, and it transitions out to the point where I actually thought for a second is Roy in the shadows. Okay. But then, of course, it's clear, obviously the next page, it's clear that we're just zooming out, it's like a camera trick. It's a camera transition. The joke this was? This was obviously better, but it was kind of like one of those Arrow flashback transitions.
Oh, God, it was. They did that a lot, didn't they? Where they zoom in on an object and then come back out.
Yeah, it was like one of them. So Roy's looking at this ring. He's like, what the hell? He can't really get it to work properly. He's remembering, talking to Hal Jordan when we met him as Speedy. And Hal's sort of explaining how his ring works and willpower and how he's in control of it, and it kind of it's a nice little reminder to go back to this earlier days stuff, this Silver Age era of the superheroes. And sure enough, he gets control of the ring and he's able to fly about a little bit, and he does some target practice with he makes an arrow, shoots it to constructs of Deathstroke and Vertigo and whoever the third one is. I can't remember.
Good question.
But it's just him getting accustomed to this, and he's like, wait, Hal's ring talks, does my ring talk? And he starts asking the ring questions. He also jokes that, am I called Black Arrow now? No, that's probably too silly. Jason would make fun of me, which gave me a chuckle. But that's
Jason
when
wouldn't be the only one.
The ring kind of explodes from here, though. Like it's like an explosion of the ring energy, and it shows him stuff that he's not intending. And it's interestingly, you get Darkseid at the back, you've got this new version of Psycho Pirate at the front, you got Flashpoint Batman, you've got Barry and chains. So it's all stuff that's going on in the book. It's all these different things. And then, of course, he sees his daughter, right? And he's like, alive. And of course, this is stuff that we're playing with. We've teased this off another book. So there's a lot of good continuity stuff between the books right now. And even some of the stuff in this feels like it nicely fits in with the Flash annual from today as well.
Really?
Just in the idea of Roy's past and stuff, because Roy is in that issue. So it just kind of feels like there's a lot of thematic stuff linking nicely. So basically, he demands to know where his daughter is. He's like, because this is a big shock to him, of course. And clearly, this event, the Infinite Frontier, the end of death metal and everything else. Obviously, a lot of things have came back, right? A lot of people have came back. So this all ties in nicely. But it says Darkseid is, and of course, at the end of this sequence, his Black Lantern symbol turns into the Omega symbol on his chest. So he is it
says, come to me, my Black Lantern.
Yeah, so lots of wild stuff here. Roy's a big prominent figure in this story. And I like that it's not because they could have teased the mystery of where did the ring come from? Why does he have the ring? But immediately it's like, no, this connects to Darkseid. Darkseid's behind this, so they're not holding back on this too much, which is nice.
Yeah, so it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, really neat. Obviously, one thing to say is that we have a lot of artists. We're shifting between art, part to part.
It mostly gets away with it because it's so disconnected, section to section. Which is probably my biggest complaint about the book is that it feels like a series of vignettes for the most part.
Which I think in a way does make it feel like a crisis in some ways, because I think crises often have that feel when they're jumping around all the different characters and how the events are. I mean, I think right now it maybe feels more separate because I'm assuming the story is going to pull them more together as it goes on.
I was going to say, I think the difference is in most crises, you're seeing how the inciting event is affecting them, or they're working towards a specific goal. This feels a little bit more aimless right now. No, not that I'm saying that there's no clear objective that the writers have. I'm sure they have a purpose. But for our character, like this stuff with Roy, we're just kind of watching it unfold. Well, there's no agency.
It's kind of 50-50, because I feel like it does tie into Darkseid, which is obviously the stuff with Barry and Psycho Pirate last issue. And then this next part with Captain Atom and Chase also ties into Darkseid. So, I mean, there are threads that are starting to already kind of tie these things together. So Captain Atom, who again is back, he's going to hang out
allegedly
at barracks. Yeah, Chase starts talking to him, but there's basically the whole thing where he refers to their past, and she's like, I've never met Captain Atom before, and pulls a gun on him. So who are you? And it turns out he's a Captain Atom from a different Earth, or at least that's the implication. And effectively, he says she doesn't understand what's going on in the multiverse. I can't let you take me in. So he starts to rip open his chest, and light comes out, and before he explodes, he just says, "Darkseid is." So this is the cliffhanger as well, because this is it's just a mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
It's a mushroom cloud. So I don't expect Chase is dead just because we've just been starting with her, and she's been such a prominent character in the book. But I don't know how she survived this.
Wouldn't it?
Maybe, I don't know. Portal to some, maybe Darkseid pulled her out at the last second because he's got plans for her, or maybe someone else pulled her out at the last second.
Typical comic book answer, but I'd be impressed if they did kill her, in the sense of it would feel like a shock.
It would,
because it would feel like, no, we built up just enough recently with her that it's like, no, this feels like she's going to be around.
Yeah, she felt like one of the main, like, say, 6 characters that are really important to the story, and so if this is a true killing off of the character for now, then...
Yeah. I like how they referenced the Lois book as well at the start of this.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that too. Again, it feels like the writers have been allowed to really embrace continuity, which was just like a mandate before, but they weren't allowed to. So
yeah.
And it seems like comic book writers actually really like it. What's funny is I got to the end of this, and there's this thing that's actually at the back of all the issues, but I read it here because it felt really... Because I read this first.
I did as well. I didn't realize this was the ad of the week.
Yeah, but it was a kind of a nice thing. It was like a summary of, like, okay, these are all things connected to Infinite Frontier and the multiverse, and it's what team is Oracle forming and why? Which, okay, I'm interested.
That'll be the Batgirls team, surely.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it like that.
Yeah.
I'm interested. What is Fear State? Why is Clark Kent leading a new version of the Authority? Will Jonathan Kent be able to fill his father's shoes as Superman? Can Wonder Woman escape the God Sphere and return to Earth? Which heroes wearing a Black Lantern ring? We kind of already know that. But again, if given that this is technically an ad that has appeared in other books, it makes sense it's also promoting this book. So fair enough.
Yes.
Has the fastest man alive outrun his past? And how is Roy Harper alive? So it's basically all the things that are going on, and there's like a 2-page of Bones looking at all this stuff. And given that Bones is investigating all this, it does feel like they're using like kind of an in-universe way of like advertising. So that was neat. So
yeah, and then they just have a list of all the newish titles on the next page.
Yeah, where all these questions are going to be relevant, and many of them at least. So it's a fun ad. It's a fun ad that, at least on that when I first got to at the end of this, it felt like it was worth reading at least once. So,
I said that first page of it, I did not realize was an ad.
No, did I? I thought it was like a back matter kind of thing.
Yeah, that was almost like a post-credit tease.
Yeah, like here's all the things, and it still kind of works though, because it's like, okay, a lot of these things are being like tying into this book, but they're actually going to be answered in their ongoings. So here, go and make sure you check out whatever ones you want.
Even the things like which hero is wearing a Black Lantern ring, obviously we know the answer to that, but Bones doesn't. So it didn't feel like it was an out of place being in this book. You know, if it wasn't an advert. So no, I'm in for it.
Yeah, no, so I had a lot of fun with this issue. It maybe didn't have quite the shock value of the stuff that issue 1 did, because issue 1 was like, hey, Darkseid's behind this, Psycho Pirate, there's a Black Lantern ring of some kind on Roy. all those things were obviously much bigger deals than anything this issue hits us with, but it did progress all those things. So,
Yeah.
It's a main event style book in DC. I'm enjoying the ride, and like I'm interested in where all this is going. It may not be as well crafted as some of the more prestigious books that we're going to talk about perhaps later, but I can't deny that I'm a sucker for, a lot of what this is playing with.
You like the big continuity events, is what you're saying?
In DC, I hate them in Marvel.
Yeah.
And
You hypocrite.
It's the taste thing. I acknowledge it. It's what it is. All right, what are you rating Infinite Frontier issue 2?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I think I like all the stuff that's in it. It does feel a little bit disjointed and kind of meandering still for the end of issue 2 for me, and that lettering issue did bug me quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm not too fussed about the lettering thing. I mean,
it really bothered me.
I don't necessarily like it, but it's not something that I really, it made the page feel a bit more crammed than it probably should have. But yeah, I mean, I will say that because it is juggling so many artists, it's hard to really just be enjoying the art, because it is just kind of like, we have a lot of artists because this book has to be done quickly as possible, and
none of the art's bad, but none of it's amazing. Like even like I know Zamanico's in here. I like Zamanico. This is not his best work.
It's just artistically doesn't have this creative soul focused vision that makes it feel special in that sense. It feels like an event book that's fun for continuity's sake and fun for all the things it's teasing, but it isn't a singular comic book reading experience. So I think it's worth pointing that out. I would happily give this the 8 though. I'm really enjoying the shenanigans of all of it.